Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Weeb here, back with the next part for What If Naruto Was an Alchemist, part 1 of What If Naruto Was an Alchemist Shippuden. So I hope you guys enjoyed the last part, the finale for What If Naruto Was an Alchemist, part 1 of Naruto. But let's get into it. Today we'll also be having another part for What If Naruto Was an Alchemist, and then I'll be posting one part for What If Minato Survived. If you guys don't know what that is, I did a little bit of that series. So, yeah, you guys can check that out if you want. It should be in the video link playlist section. If you want me to, I can make a separate playlist for that. Just comment down below if you can't find it or something. But, anyway, let's just get right into this one. If you guys remember yesterday, we finished off with the final attack between Naruto, now with the Kyuubi's chakra enhancing his alchemy, and the Bijou Bomb that he has currently created using alchemy and compressing it, versus Sasuke's Curse Mark Enhanced Chidori. Now, let's get right into the parts. As you remember last time, the ball of energy had completely surrounded the two, as the power had taken over all of them, as the final valley had a large explosion take place, causing the valley's walls to shake and crumble, as rocks began to fall down the sides. Suddenly, we see two bodies falling down as they land close to the river. Naruto's body lands into the water itself as he sinks beneath it and begins to float on stream. Sasuke, however, is badly wounded. Unlike in the original, Naruto's power is far superior than it was originally. Naruto's chakra control and alchemy skills are much more unwildly and much harder to counter because Sasuke doesn't have any of his own, due to its hard case of mastering it. Orochimaru would then send Kabuto out to go check to see where Sasuke is after around a while. After around a few hours, Sasuke would be retrieved by Kabuto. Naruto continued to float on stream before his body completely ran off as it hit towards the edge of a rock. His executioner's blade arm caught onto the rock as the blade itself pulled him on top of it, with his arm now sitting there and him gasping for air as he was drowning. Kakashi finally makes it towards the valley as he sees a humongous crater which had completely shattered the sides of the valley, causing both Madara Uchiha as well as Hashirama Senju's statues' legs to be almost completely ruined, as they were basically tilting. Sasuke quickly used the mud wall jutsu to keep the statues up as he looked at the destruction that those two had caused. He eventually sees the red cloak that Naruto had thrown out earlier on the side of the valley and rushes over to go check on it. No blood. Kakashi picks up the red cloak as he drapes it around himself, looking to go and find where Naruto is. He continues running downstream, hoping that Naruto has survived, or that he somehow is on his way back to the village. This is when he sees Naruto leaning against a stone wall, barely alive, as he's breathing shallow, hollow breaths. Kakashi rushes over as fast as he can and begins doing CPR on Naruto as he pushes and compresses on his chest. Naruto vomits up a puddle of water as water spews out of his mouth and he coughs for a breath of air. Naruto's eyes then roll into the back of his head as he falls backwards. Kakashi catches him and then drapes his red coat over him as he picks him up and carries him on his shoulder as he heads back to the Leaf Village. Now he wonders if Sasuke must have gone away, thinking that Naruto must have failed somehow. We now see Kabuto carrying Sasuke, and Sasuke is also breathing heavily, as water is in his lungs, as well as him having several wounds all over his body. Several large bruises cross all over Sasuke's body, as well as a large scar across the left side of his cheek, which was still bleeding. Naruto apparently had swiped at Sasuke with his executioner's blade at least one time during that fight that Sasuke had missed. Sasuke wakes up blurrily as he sees himself in Orochimaru's base. This is when Orochimaru introduces himself to Sasuke formally, and they begin their training for Sasuke to acquire more power. Naruto would wake up several days later. As he wakes up, he feels a cool breeze and the nice softness of a warm bed. When he looks up, he sees Jiraiya, his master and sensei, standing there, along with his other sensei, Tsunade. Tsunade and Jiraiya are both extremely worried about Naruto, as Tsunade would be looking to see if he was alright. Naruto says hi to both of them as he smiles, a weak smile, still feeling rather weak after his large attack he had used in the final valley. "What were you doing?" Jiraiya then asks Naruto. "You almost got yourself killed in that fight." Naruto says he's sorry, but it was the only way. He then looks up and asks if they got Sasuke. Tsunade and Jiraiya look to each other and ask what does he mean. Naruto then says that in that final clash between them, when they both used their most powerful attacks, before I blanked out, I'm positive that me and Sasuke were both hit by each other's attacks. That means that he must have been taken out as well, right? Is Sasuke okay? Did we bring him back? Naruto says this with hope, thinking that he might have been able to save Sasuke. Jiraiya then looks to Naruto and then shakes his head, and telling him that Sasuke was gone when they got there. Apparently he'd been retrieved, probably, by one of Orochimaru's minions. Naruto is shocked that he failed, and he looks down, and then he punches himself, thinking that he failed. Tsunade tells him to stop and that he's still recovering, and then Naruto tells her to leave him alone. Naruto looks up to the both of them and says he's not going to give up on Sasuke, and that he's going to save Sasuke for sure next time. Jiraiya and Tsunade try to explain to him about how Sasuke is like Orochimaru, and how he had abandoned the Leaf Village of his own free volition, and that if there was no choice that he had, then he probably wouldn't want to come back anyway. And sometimes you can't just force your way through things to get what you want. Naruto is being a bit irrational now, and says that he'll just have to get stronger then so he can do that. This is when Jiraiya would tell Naruto about the plan. In fact, the plan this time would be that Naruto would be heading off with Tsunade instead of Jiraiya to begin training, working on his alchemy more, and Jiraiya would take over as temporary Hokage for the next 3 years. Jiraiya says this with a somewhat sad tone, as Naruto has no idea why, but unknown to Naruto, Jiraiya is actually Naruto's godfather. However, Jiraiya doesn't have the same alchemist skills that Naruto had, and Tsunade does, so it would be much more beneficial for him to defeat the Akatsuki if he could perfect and refine his techniques. Naruto looks at Tsunade and asks if this is true. Tsunade nods and says that they'll be heading out the next day. Jiraiya says that he'll be staying here as a temporary Hokage for just a while, and that he's only as acting Hokage, so there won't be a stone face of him in the wall ever anytime soon. He laughs. He then says that Tsunade has better to maintain his spy network while she's gone off from the village. She sighs and says that she knows. Tsunade then tells Jiraiya that she's leaving her attendant behind, so that way Jiraiya can actually have some assistance if he needs any advice. Jiraiya nods and says thanks, as he then confirms that he'll do his best to keep the village intact while they're gone. Sakura walks into the room and asks what's going on. She sees Jiraiya and Tsunade, two of the legendary Sannin, talking of Naruto. Naruto and I were just having a short discussion, Tsunade says as she turns to Sakura. Sakura nods as she leaves. Tsunade then turns back to Naruto. Naruto, before we leave, there's some things I need to tell you before we head off to begin our training for the next 3 years. Naruto nods and asks what it is. Tsunade then tells Naruto that his major weakness that he has is that he can only use alchemy as his main attack and defense. Naruto nods, not seeing the problem. Well, the problem, Naruto, is what you don't seem to understand is that alchemy is above an S-rank level jutsu. It's actually a technique that's basically impossible to learn. In fact, I don't even know how you learned it at your age. It took me over 20 years to... She then stops, thinking about how her appearance, and says, it didn't take me that long at all, actually, to learn alchemy. She then says as she looks away. Naruto not really understanding what's going on. Anyway, my point still stands, Naruto. When we leave, there's some things I need to teach you about using your chakra in other ways. Just because you can use your techniques with alchemy doesn't mean that's the only way you can win. If you had more jutsu that you could use besides your alchemy, you could actually have stood a chance at defeating Sasuke through wearing him down. Naruto's eyes widen as he thinks that he's been neglecting what he should have been learning this whole time. So now I tells him that he doesn't have to worry about it, as they'll be working on that. Just Naruto started on the opposite end. You're supposed to learn the basic stuff before you move on to that kind of thing. She then tells Jiraiya that she'll do her best with this kid, and Jiraiya nods, telling her while they're out of the room to keep him safe. Tsunade asks him if he doubts her with her eyebrow up, and Jiraiya laughs, saying he never would. Tsunade and Naruto begin to leave the village together, with Tsunade taking with all of her bags for if they go to a gambling city once in a while. Jiraiya nods as he waves away back to the two of them as they leave. Naruto heads off with Tsunade as they begin their alchemy training. 3 years pass. Naruto is sitting behind a tree when he's beginning to conjure chakra in his right hand. He begins to form the medical chakra blade that Tsunade taught him to use, and the chakra scalpel, and rushes at Tsunade from behind, trying to outspeed her. Naruto has his shirt and his other jacket off so that way he doesn't damage them in the fight. Tsunade turns around and counters by slamming into his own chakra scalp with her own, them slicing against each other like two knives. Naruto then jumps back as he begins to activate the Rasengan, charging chakra into his hand and forming it, using a bit of alchemy to compress it even easier. Naruto forms the Rasengan and rushes towards Tsunade, trying to slam it into her. As he's about to slam the Rasengan at Tsunade, Tsunade slices up with the chakra blade, opening the Rasengan, letting the chakra pour out, causing an explosion. Naruto goes spinning backwards as he uses alchemy on the ground, causing blocks of stone to go flying towards Tsunade. Tsunade then forms her hands together and pushes her hands out, stopping the stones with her own alchemy. Naruto is sweating heavily, as he's gotten quite a bit bulkier since the last few years ago. Naruto's been doing a lot of strength training as well as chakra training with Tsunade, and he's actually mastered medical ninjutsu. Tsunade had actually worked on showing Naruto the basics of the Rasengan, as she herself can't do it, but she knows how to do it. Naruto then would practice this on his own every day, and eventually would get it. That's how he had learned how to use the Rasengan properly. Jiraiya would be back at the village still, acting as Hokage, and there was about 2 months left before they were scheduled to return to the village. Naruto had gotten far stronger than he had been 3 years ago, and mastered many more skills. Naruto's medical ninjutsu is actually very useful for him, as now he can heal wounds during battles, as well as use his alchemy and other attacks to work multitasking-wise. Naruto had a lot of skills in different varieties now. Naruto picks his fingers up as he quickly uses a clone jutsu, as the clone goes running towards Tsunade. Tsunade slices this in half with the chakra scalpel as she deactivates it, and rushes towards Naruto, punching her fist into the ground, using her physical strength. Naruto charges chakra into his fist and then punches his own part of the ground, causing stone to go rising up and clash into Tsunade's. Tsunade then claps her hands together as she tells Naruto it's time to take a break. Naruto sighs as he falls back on his bed and rubs the sweat off his forehead. Phew! Granny Tsunade, that was a pretty tough one today. You were really hyped up today, I could feel it. Tsunade cracks her neck as she looks to Naruto and says that they're heading to the next gambling city today. Naruto sighs as he says not again, and that she had blown all her money on that last time. She then tightens her fist and asks what did he say? Naruto sweats and says he's sorry and that he was kidding. She then nods and tells Naruto to grab her bags. Naruto puts his black and orange jumpsuit back on, as he then pulls over his red cloak that he had gained from several years ago. Naruto's arm, his executioner's blade, has been altered now. To suit his larger body, he's actually changed it and added more metals to it. Naruto had used blood to increase the size of the blade, so that way he could transmute into a larger version of his arm. Once that took place, Tsunade thought that was a very clever way of using alchemy to actually give yourself function. Naruto explains the uses of how he actually created this again, telling her about how he used his chakra paths with alchemy and transferred them so that way there was space in the metal arm. That way he could actually put chakra into it and feel things like senses. Naruto would then show her the transmutation to turn it into a blade and to turn it back into his normal arm. Tsunade would then say it's time to get going, as Naruto grabs Tsunade's bags and they begin to head towards the next city. Back at the Leaf Village, we see Jiraiya filling out Hokage paperwork, bored out of his mind and yawning, hoping that Tsunade and Naruto can come back soon, so that way he can go and leave on doing his spy networking again. Naruto had been joining Tsunade while the times they'd been maintaining the network that Jiraiya had already laid the groundwork for. Tsunade had been acting as Jiraiya's replacement for that time, while Naruto worked on training himself. Naruto and Tsunade, after the next 2 months, would eventually come back, with Tsunade being relieved that it's over and she can get back to business of being Hokage. Naruto is walking back carrying all of their bags, looking like a pack mule pretty much, as Tsunade is casually walking along. As Naruto and them reach towards the gate of the Leaf Village, Tsunade knocks on the door and then they open it. They see the Lady Hokage and they welcome her back to the village, as Lady Tsunade walks along inside of Naruto. When they see Naruto, they are so surprised when they see Naruto's long golden hair tied back into a braid along with his new clothing that he's gained and color scheme. Naruto walks in and waves to them as they wave back. As Naruto puts all of the bags down in front of the Hokage's office, he breathes a sigh of relief, until Tsunade is going to check out what the village looks like. She tells him go ahead as Naruto jumps off to the side. As Naruto climbs to the very top of the actual smokestack and looks upon the rest of the Leaf Village, Naruto takes in a deep breath and then sighs out. It's good to be home. If you guys liked that part for What If Naruto Was an Alchemist, make sure to hit the like button, comment down below what you thought, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys are like what I did with Tsunade going off with Naruto instead. It made a lot of sense to me because in my story, Tsunade can actually use alchemy while Jiraiya can't. And Naruto, who is primarily using alchemy skills in this What If, is desperately needing some better control as well as some more creative uses and ideas for it. So with Naruto training with Tsunade and learning medical ninjutsu, I think it really complements his other skills that he has already. So I believe that was a good choice. If you guys disagree, then you can tell me what you think. I hope that was cool with you, though. I think it's pretty cool. I like the idea of Tsunade training Naruto because of like their interactions with the Tsunade retrieval arc and other occasions. But I mean, that's just what I think. But if you guys have any ideas who should have gone with Naruto in this What If, make sure to tell me about that. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.